The street vendor.
In a small town called Loma, there lived a young man named Toby. Toby had a big smile and strong arms. Every morning, he woke up very early, even before the sun came out. He tied a big pot on his small wooden cart and pushed it to the busy road near the school. Toby sold jollof rice, fried plantains, and chicken. The food smelled so nice that children and workers stopped to buy it. He made a little money every day, just enough to buy food. Toby did not go to school, but he was very smart. He knew how to cook well, count money fast, and talk kindly to people. Everyone called him Chef Toby. One day, something strange happened. As Toby was setting up his cart, a big black car stopped in front of him. A man in a suit came out. He looked serious. "Who owns this cart?" the man asked. "I do, sir," Toby replied. "This road is no longer for selling food," the man said. "Pack your things and leave." Toby's heart beat fast. "But sir, this is where I sell to feed my family." The man did not listen. He waved his hand and walked back into his car. Toby sat on the road, confused and sad. Where would he go now? Would his little brother and sister eat today? Just then, a small voice said, "Toby, don't cry. You're the best cook I know." It was Mimi, a schoolgirl who always bought food from him. She smiled and gave him a drawing she made. It showed Toby in a big restaurant with a sign that said, "Chef Toby's Kitchen." Toby looked at the drawing, then looked up at the sky. Maybe, just maybe, this was not the end. Toby kept looking at the drawing Mimi gave him. It made him feel warm inside, like a little fire of hope. He folded it carefully and put it in his pocket. "I can't give up," he said to himself. The next day, Toby didn't go to his usual spot. Instead, he walked around town with his cart. He stopped near a church, but the gate was locked. He tried near a market, but too many people were already selling food there. Toby was tired, hot, and hungry. Still, he didn't stop. Finally, he found a small park where children were playing. He set up his cart under a tree and opened the pot. The sweet smell of jollof rice filled the air. One by one, people started to come. What's that smell?" said a woman with her baby. "Jollof rice and plantains," Toby said with a smile. Soon, the line got longer. Toby was happy again. But just as he served the last plate, a boy ran to him crying. "Help, my sister fell in the river." Without thinking, Toby jumped up and ran after the boy. He left his cart, his money, and everything behind. When he reached the river, he saw a little girl struggling in the water. "Hold on," Toby shouted. He jumped into the river and pulled her out. People clapped and cheered. The girl was safe, but when Toby went back to the park, his cart was gone. Everything, his food, his pot, his money was gone. Toby sat on the ground. He was wet, tired, and now had nothing. But then, the girl's mother came running. "Thank you, you saved my daughter," she said, hugging him tight. "What is your name?" "Toby," he said softly. She looked at him kindly. "You're not just a food seller, you're a hero." Toby smiled a little, but inside he still felt sad. How would he start again? Just then, something happened that would change his life forever. As Toby stood there, shivering and sad, a man in a clean shirt and glasses walked up to him. The man had been watching everything from the park. "I saw what you did," the man said. "You saved that little girl without thinking about yourself. That was brave," Toby nodded. "But now, I've lost everything." The man smiled. "Sometimes, when you lose something, it's because something better is coming." He reached into his bag and gave Toby a small card. "Come to this place tomorrow morning. I want to help you." Toby looked at the card. It read, "Sunshine Eatery, Chef Daniel, owner." Toby's eyes widened. He had heard of Sunshine Eatery before. It was the biggest restaurant in town. "Is this real?" he asked. "Yes," Chef Daniel said. "Come by 8 a.m. Don't be late." The next morning, Toby woke up very early, cleaned up, and put on his best shirt. It had a small tear at the shoulder, but he didn't mind. He was too excited. When he got to Sunshine Eatery, the building looked huge and shiny. Waiters moved around in white shirts, and the smell of food filled the air. Chef Daniel welcomed him with a handshake. "I need someone like you. You're kind, quick, and smart. Will you work with me as a kitchen helper?" Toby's face lit up. "Yes, sir, I'll do my best." That day, Toby washed plates, peeled onions, and learned how to cook fancy meals. He was fast, polite, and always smiling. But not everyone was happy about Toby's new job. In the back kitchen, another worker named Connell frowned as he watched Toby work. "Why is this street boy here?" Connell muttered. "I've been here for 2 years, and I've never gotten praise like him." Connell had a plan to make Toby fail. Connell didn't like how everyone was talking about Toby. Even Chef Daniel said, "Toby, you're a fast learner. Well done." That made Connell angry. One afternoon, while Toby was peeling carrots, Connell walked by and knocked over a bowl of hot pepper sauce. Splash! The red sauce spilled everywhere, on Toby's shirt, on the floor, and on the clean white plates. Everyone turned to look. "Toby, what did you do?" one of the waiters shouted. Toby stood there, confused. I didn't do it." But Connell quickly spoke up. "I saw him. He wasn't careful. He made the mess." Toby felt a lump in his throat. He wanted to cry, but he held it in. Chef Daniel came into the kitchen. "What's going on here?" Connell pointed at Toby. "He messed up the plates and wasted food." Chef Daniel looked at the mess, then at Toby. "Is that true?" Toby shook his head. "I didn't do it, sir. I promise." Chef Daniel thought for a moment. Connell, you've worked here long, but Toby has always been honest. I'll check the kitchen camera." Connell's eyes widened. "Camera," he said quietly. "Yes," Chef Daniel said. "We have a camera in every corner." He left to check the video. Toby cleaned up the mess quietly, his heart beating fast. After a few minutes, Chef Daniel came back. "Toby," he said, smiling, "you were telling the truth." "Connell, I saw what you did." Everyone gasped. Connell looked down in shame. "You will apologize," Chef Daniel said, "and take a break from work for 1 week." Connell mumbled, "I'm sorry," then walked away. Toby felt a hand on his shoulder. It was Chef Daniel. "You are not just a good cook," he said. "You are honest, and that matters most." Toby smiled. He felt proud. He didn't let lies bring him down. Later that evening, as the sun went down, Chef Daniel called Toby aside. "I have another surprise for you," he said, "but I'll tell you tomorrow." Toby went home that night with a full heart and big dreams. But tomorrow, something unexpected would happen. The next morning, Toby woke up before the rooster crowed. He wore his neatest shirt and hurried to Sunshine Eatery. His heart was dancing with excitement. "I wonder what the surprise is," he thought. When he got there, Chef Daniel was already waiting. He smiled and handed Toby a small white envelope. "What's this?" Toby asked, opening it slowly. Inside was a letter with big, bold words. "Welcome to the Sunshine Eatery Training Program, full scholarship." Toby read it twice. "Wait, are you saying I'm going to school?" "Yes," Chef Daniel laughed. "A cooking school. You'll learn everything: baking, soup making, cake decorating, and more. And when you finish, I'll help you open your own food stand." Toby's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you, sir. Thank you so much." Chef Daniel patted him on the back. "You earned it, Toby. You remind me of myself when I was young." But just as they were talking, a police van stopped in front of the restaurant. 4 officers stepped out and walked straight toward them. "Good morning," one officer said. "Are you Toby?" Toby froze. "Yes, I'm Toby. You need to come with us," the officer said. "There's a case we're investigating, and your name came up." Toby's heart sank. "What? But I didn't do anything." Chef Daniel stepped forward. "What is this about?" The officer said, "Last week, a food cart was reported stolen. The owner said someone who looked like Toby took it." Toby's mouth dropped open. No, sir. My cart was stolen too." The officer looked serious. "We're not arresting you, but we need to ask some questions at the station." Chef Daniel looked at Toby. "Don't worry. I'm coming with you." As they got into the van, Toby's hands were shaking. He didn't understand. Who would say he stole a cart? And what if no one believed him this time? The police van moved quickly through the streets. Toby sat beside Chef Daniel, trying to stay calm. His heart felt heavy, like a stone. When they got to the station, an officer led them into a small room. Inside sat an old man with a walking stick. He looked tired and angry. "That's him," the old man shouted when he saw Toby. "That's the boy who took my cart." Toby stood up, shocked. "What? No, sir. I never took anyone's cart. Mine was stolen too." The old man squinted at him. "You used to sell food near Green Street, didn't you?" "Yes," Toby nodded. "But I was chased away. I moved to the park. Then my cart disappeared when I went to save a girl." The old man paused. He looked at Toby again, longer this time. Then he frowned. "Wait, are you the boy who saved a child from the river?" "Yes, sir," Toby said softly. The old man sighed. He took off his glasses and wiped his eyes. "I'm sorry, I made a mistake. Someone told me a street boy took my cart and sold it. I was angry. I thought it was you." Toby looked confused. "Then who took it?" The old man nodded. "I truly am sorry, son. If there's anything I can do to make it right, tell me." Chef Daniel looked at Toby and smiled. "Actually, there is." He turned to the old man. "Toby just got a scholarship to our cooking school. When he finishes, he'll need a food cart to start his own business. Maybe you could help." The old man chuckled. "A new cart, that's easy. He can have one tomorrow. A strong one, even better than mine." Toby's eyes shone like stars. "Thank you, sir. Thank you so much." As they left the station, the sun was shining brightly. It felt like the sky was smiling just for him. But as Toby stepped out, a voice behind him whispered, "You may be lucky today, but I'm not done with you yet." Toby turned around quickly. It was Cunnel, the jealous kitchen worker. And this time, he had a plan that could ruin everything. Toby froze when he saw Cunnel. Cunnel's eyes were cold, and his lips curled into a sneaky smile. "You think you've won, don't you?" Cunnel said quietly. "You think Chef Daniel really cares about you? Just wait." Before Toby could reply, Cunnel turned and disappeared into a tricycle down the road. Chef Daniel placed a hand on Toby's shoulder. "Ignore him," he said. "Focus on your future. You're meant for bigger things." Toby nodded, but in his heart, he felt a little afraid. He didn't trust Cunnel at all. The next few weeks passed like magic. Toby began his cooking classes. He learned how to bake bread, fry crispy chicken, and even make jollof rice that smelled so good people clapped after tasting it. He worked hard and always stayed after class to clean and practice. Soon, everyone in the school knew his name. One afternoon, Chef Daniel called him into the office. "Toby, your food is amazing," he said. "I think it's time for your first big test." Toby sat up straight. "What kind of test?" "You'll cook for real customers at our street food event this Saturday. You'll have your own stand and menu." Toby gasped. "Really, my own stand?" Chef Daniel smiled. "Yes, we'll call it Toby's Taste." Toby jumped up and down with joy. "Thank you, sir. I won't let you down." But far away, in a corner of the city, Cunnel was watching from the shadows. He had heard about the event, and he had a plan. That Saturday, as Toby set up his stand, Cunnel sneaked through the crowd with something hidden inside his backpack. The day of the street food event was bright and busy. Music played from speakers, children ran around with balloons, and the smell of suya, fried rice, and sweet puff-puff filled the air. Toby stood behind his food stand, Toby's Taste, wearing a white apron and a big smile. His new cart gleamed in the sun, freshly painted with yellow and red stripes. It was his dream come true. "Come and taste the best jollof rice in town." He shouted happily. People lined up. Toby served plates with care. Every spoonful was perfect. People smiled, nodded, and said, "Wow," after their first bite. But while everyone was clapping for Toby, Cunnel was hiding near the back of the crowd, holding something inside his backpack, a small bottle with dark liquid. "It's time," he whispered. He waited until Toby turned to serve another customer. Then, quick as a flash, he stepped forward and poured the liquid into a bowl of stew behind the stand. But he didn't know someone was watching. Little Muna, the same girl Toby once saved from the river, had come to buy food with her mother. She saw Connell bend behind the cart and quickly tip something inside the pot. Her eyes grew big. She tugged her mom's hand. "Mommy, that man put something in Uncle Toby's food." Toby turned around just in time to see Connell walking away, smiling to himself. "What's going on?" Chef Daniel asked, walking over. Toby looked at the stew and then at Muna. "He put something in it," she said again. Toby didn't wait. He quickly picked up the bowl and handed it to Chef Daniel. "Sir, I think something bad just happened." Chef Daniel sniffed the bowl, then called security. They checked it. It was full of bitter herbs and strange black powder that could make people sick. The crowd gasped when they heard. Within minutes, Connell was stopped by 2 security men. Chef Daniel walked up to him, holding the poisoned stew. "Why, Connell?" he asked. "Why would you do this?" Connell looked down. "Because everyone forgot me. No one ever clapped for me like they do for him." "But this isn't the way," Chef Daniel said sadly. "You could have hurt someone." The police were called again. Connell was taken away. Toby stood there, shaken but proud. "You were brave," Chef Daniel said. "And smart to check. You saved everyone again." The people clapped, this time louder than before. Some hugged him, others took pictures. Toby smiled through the tears in his eyes. He didn't just have a food stand now. He had a story, he had respect, and he had a bright future. But the journey wasn't over, because just the next day, someone special showed up at Toby's cart. And he brought news that could change Toby's life forever. The next morning, the sky was quiet and the sun was soft. Toby was cleaning his new cart, humming a song, when he saw a black car stop near him. Out stepped a tall man in a clean suit. He wore glasses and carried a shiny briefcase. "Are you Toby?" the man asked with a friendly smile. Toby nodded slowly. "Yes, sir. My name is Mr. Emeka. I work with a big food company called Royal Kitchen Nigeria. I heard about what happened yesterday, how you stopped someone from poisoning the crowd, and how everyone loves your food." Toby blinked. "You did?" "Yes. In fact, our boss saw a video of you online. It's going viral. People are calling you the boy with the golden spoon." Toby laughed shyly. "I was just doing what's right." Mr. Emeka opened his briefcase and brought out a colorful folder. "Well, we believe boys like you should go far. Our company wants to offer you a big opportunity, a full scholarship to study at the Royal Culinary School in Lagos. All your food, books, and travel will be paid for. You won't be leaving forever," Mr. Emeka said. "You'll come back wiser, stronger, and ready to make your food dreams come true." Toby looked at the sky. His heart was full. He had started with nothing, just hope and a hungry stomach. Now, he was being offered something he never dreamed of, a future. But deep inside, he knew, the journey wasn't just about food. It was about standing strong when things go wrong. About doing good even when it's hard. About never giving up even when the street gets rough. Toby took the folder with shaking hands. "I accept," he whispered. And just like that, the real journey began. The next few weeks felt like a blur for Toby. He packed his things, said goodbye to his friends in the neighborhood, and left the familiar streets of the city. Chef Daniel and Muna waved him off as he boarded a bus to Lagos. It was hard to believe everything was happening so fast. "Make us proud, Toby," Chef Daniel shouted, his voice full of pride. "I will, sir," Toby shouted back. "I promise." The journey to Lagos was long, but Toby could hardly sleep, filled with excitement. When he finally arrived, Mr. Emeka greeted him at the bus station and drove him to the Royal Culinary School. The building was big and shiny, and the smell of fresh bread and spices filled the air. "Welcome to your new home," Mr. Emeka said, showing Toby around. The school had everything: kitchens with sparkling counters, classrooms filled with eager students, and halls filled with food posters. Toby couldn't believe it. This was where he'd learn from the best chefs in the country. Over the next few months, Toby worked harder than he ever had before. He learned new cooking skills, from making perfect pastries to designing beautiful cakes. He spent hours learning how to mix flavors and create dishes that told stories. His teachers were kind, but they pushed him to be better. But even in such a big school, Toby never forgot his roots. Every evening after class, he would write down recipes from his street vendor days, tweaking them, adding new ideas, and making them even better. One day, as Toby was decorating a cake in class, he noticed a familiar face. It was Connell. Toby's heart skipped. What was he doing here? Connell was standing by the door, his face grim. He looked different, like he had changed. Toby wasn't sure what to feel. Connell? Toby asked, walking toward him. Connell looked at the ground. I'm sorry, Toby. I know I hurt you, and I know I made terrible mistakes. Toby nodded slowly. What happened to you? Connell sighed. After everything that happened, I got into trouble. I lost my job. I was angry at the world. But then I realized something. The way you helped people even when they were rude to you, it made me think. Maybe I can do better. Toby's heart softened. He remembered the old Connell, the jealous man who'd tried to ruin his dreams. Why are you here? Toby asked. I'm trying to get into the culinary school, too, Connell said quietly. I want to change. I want to cook, but the right way. Toby thought for a moment, then he smiled. If you really want to change, you can. But you have to work hard. It won't be easy. Connell nodded. I'm ready. And just like that, Toby made a decision. I'll talk to Chef Daniel for you, Toby said. Maybe you can get a chance. Connell's eyes widened. You'd do that for me? Toby smiled. Everyone deserves a second chance, Connell, even you. The next day, Toby went to Chef Daniel and told him about Connell's apology. Chef Daniel listened carefully, then nodded. If Connell is serious, Chef Daniel said, he can start working here as an apprentice. But he has to show me he can change, and just like that, Connell got another chance. Months passed, and soon, Toby graduated with honors from the Royal Culinary School. He was ready. He had everything he needed, skills, a passion for food, and a heart full of dreams.
Welcome back to my channel. This is the story of the struggle of a firstborn child, Adana. Adana was born into a family of 7 in a small town in eastern Nigeria. She was the eldest of 5 children, the first daughter of her parents, and the bearer of a silent but heavy responsibility, one that had been passed down through generations without question. From the moment she was old enough to understand, her life was not her own. It was dedicated to her siblings, her parents, and the unyielding traditions that bound her existence. Growing up, Adana never had the luxury of childhood innocence like her younger siblings. While other children played in the dusty streets, laughing without a care in the world, she was in the kitchen, stirring a pot of soup under her mother's watchful eye. While her brothers were excused from household chores, allowed to run free with their friends, she was up at dawn, sweeping the compound and fetching water from the community well. By the time she turned 10, she had learned how to cook, clean, and care for her younger siblings. At 12, she was a second mother to them, waking up in the middle of the night to soothe her baby brother when he cried, and ensuring her sister's school uniforms were neatly ironed. Her mother, overwhelmed with responsibilities, often turned to her saying, "You are my right hand, Adana. Without you, how would I manage?" Those words felt like praise and a prison sentence all at once. When Adana turned 16, her father lost his job. The once comfortable home became a place of whispers and worry. There was barely enough to eat, and school fees became a luxury they could not afford. Her brothers were allowed to continue their education without. A kind man who had noticed her struggles asked for her hand in marriage. For the first time, Adana saw a glimpse of freedom, a life where she was not just a sister, a daughter, a second mother, but a woman, a person with her own dreams. Her father refused. "You are not married before your brothers have settled. Who will take care of your parents? Who will support your sisters? Marriage is not your priority right now." Her heart broke in ways words could not describe. As time passed, Adana learned to silence her own needs. She opened a small shop and used her earnings to ensure her younger sisters went to university. Her brothers got married and moved away, rarely sending support. Her parents grew older, and their reliance on her deepened. People in the community praised her, saying, "Adana, you are a strong woman." But inside, she felt hollow. One day, while preparing dinner, her youngest sister, Amaka, who was now in her final year at university, asked her, "Sister, don't you want a life of your own?" Adana forced a smile. "This is my life, but what about your dreams?" Adana had forgotten them. Had she ever had the luxury of dreaming? As the years passed, many suitors came for Adana's hand in marriage, but they never stayed for long. Some genuinely loved her, but were afraid of the burden that came with marrying her. Others had heard the stories how her family depended on her for survival, how she was more of a provider than a daughter. "If I marry her, will I be marrying her entire family too?" One man whispered to a friend after meeting her parents, who subtly hinted at the financial responsibilities they expected from him. Another suitor, a well-to-do businessman, had been serious about her. He adored her kindness and strength, but after one visit to her home, where her father casually mentioned that they would need him to help finish the house renovations and support her younger sister's education, he withdrew without explanation. It hurt. It hurt every single time a man she liked walked away, not because of her personality, but because of the baggage her family placed on her. She knew it wasn't their fault her parents had grown to depend on her, but she also knew that no man wanted to carry another family's load before even starting his own. Eventually, the proposals stopped coming. People assumed she had chosen to remain single, that she had given her life to caring for her family. No one knew how many lonely nights she spent, wondering if she would ever have a love story of her own. One evening, after a particularly hard day, Adana collapsed. Her body, weary from years of labor, could no longer bear the weight. When she woke up in the hospital, she saw her family around her worried, afraid. For the first time in her life, she let the tears fall. "I am tired," she whispered. "I have given everything, and I have nothing left." It was then that her family finally saw her not as a pillar, not as a provider, but as a woman who had sacrificed too much. After leaving the hospital, Adana hoped her family would change. She hoped they would let her breathe, but things only got worse. Her parents became more demanding. Her brothers sent their children to live with her, expecting her to raise them just as she had raised her younger siblings. "You are their aunt," they said. "It is your duty." Adana wanted to scream. When would this duty end? Would she carry this burden until she grew old? Would she ever be free? Her mother fell ill, and the responsibility of paying hospital bills fell on her. Her brothers refused to contribute. "You are the firstborn daughter. You should take care of her," they said. Adana felt trapped. No one saw her pain. No one cared that she was exhausted. She cried herself to sleep every night, wondering if this was all life had to offer her. One day, Adana made a decision. She woke up before dawn, packed her few belongings, and left. She left behind the house she had built, the siblings she had sacrificed for, and the parents who had never seen her as anything more than a caretaker. She moved to another town, rented a small apartment, and started afresh. She cut off contact with those who had taken her for granted. For the first time in her life, she was free. And though the guilt ate at her, though she missed her family, she knew she had made the right choice. Because Adana had finally chosen herself. She was no longer just the firstborn daughter. She was Adana, and that was enough.
Welcome back to my channel. This is a modern Nigerian horror story titled The Hands of a Healer. Dr. Olamide Adeyemi stood at the operating table, his gloved hands steady as he made the first incision. The bright surgical lights cast a sterile glow over the patient's unconscious body. The heart monitor beeped steadily, a rhythmic assurance of life that would soon be stolen. Outside, Lagos pulsed with its usual chaos. The hospital, St. Raphael's Medical Center, was one of the best in the city. Families placed their trust in its doctors, never questioning the outcomes. But behind the pristine walls, something sinister thrived. More than a skilled surgeon, he was a businessman, and business was good. He worked efficiently, slicing through flesh with practiced ease. Beside him, his trusted assistant, Nurse Bisi, handed him the instruments without hesitation. She never spoke during these procedures. She had learned long ago that questions were dangerous. Tonight's patient was a 28-year-old man, admitted for what should have been a routine gallbladder removal. But Dr. Alamide had other plans. The man's kidneys were in perfect condition, prime for extraction. The client in Dubai had wired $50,000 up front. As he carefully removed the kidney, he felt nothing. No remorse. No guilt. Just the satisfaction of another successful transaction. When it was over, he stepped back and peeled off his gloves. The patient's vitals were crashing, but that was expected. He turned to BC. Time of death. She glanced at the clock. 2:43. 2:43 a.m. Dr. Olamide nodded, stripping off his surgical gown. He would leave the rest to the hospital's records department. Another unexpected complication. Another grieving family. Another payday. Dr. Olamide walked into his private office, locking the door behind him. The scent of expensive cologne mixed with the faint metallic smell of blood still lingering on his hands. Despite the thorough scrubbing, he sat at his desk, unlocking the drawer where he kept his burner phone, one used exclusively for his secret transactions. A single text awaited him. Package received. Payment processed. A satisfied smile played on his lips. He tapped on the banking app, watching as the dollar equivalent of 50,000 USD reflected in his offshore account. This was his 6th transaction this month. His network was vast and efficient. The organs harvested from unsuspecting patients never remained in Nigeria for long. Through corrupt intermediaries, they were transported across borders, reaching wealthy clients in need of transplants. The system was foolproof. Or so he thought. A knock on the door pulled him from his thoughts. He quickly locked the phone away before calling out, "Enter." Nurse BC stepped in, her expression neutral. "The family is asking to see you." Of course. The grieving family. The part he hated most, not because he felt guilty, but because it was tedious. He had perfected his script over the years. A deep sigh, a solemn shake of the head, a hand placed gently on the shoulder. They trust me, he thought, adjusting his white coat. They always do. Amaka S. sat in the hospital's waiting room, her fingers clenched tightly around her phone. Her younger brother, Chaik, had been admitted for a simple appendectomy. The doctor had assured her it was routine. Now, she was being told he was gone. Dr. Alamide approached with calculated sorrow in his eyes. "Miss S. I'm so sorry. We did everything we could." Amaka stared at him, her mind struggling to process the words. Just 2 hours ago, Chaik had been stable, joking with her about what he would eat after surgery. Now, he was dead. She felt her breath hitched. What happened? Dr. Olamide sighed. There were complications. His heart stopped unexpectedly. We tried to He shook his head as if deeply pained. Amaka's heart pounded. Something wasn't right. She had heard of post-surgical deaths before, but this felt too sudden, too convenient. "Can I see his body?" she asked, her voice trembling. Dr. Olamide hesitated for a fraction of a second before nodding. Of course. That hesitation made her stomach twist with unease. Inside the morgue, the air was cold and sterile. Amaka stood over her brother's lifeless body, struggling to hold back tears. Babatund looked around nervously before shaking his head. "No, madam." Amaka frowned. "Then why does his body look like this?" The old man hesitated. Then, in a hushed voice, he muttered, "Some things in this hospital. They are not as they seem." Her blood ran cold. "What do you mean?" Babatund glanced at the security camera in the corner and shook his head. "Go home, madame. Let the dead rest. But Amica couldn't, because she now knew something was very, very wrong. Amica couldn't shake the feeling that something had gone horribly wrong with Chike's death. The morgue attendant's cryptic words echoed in her mind. There was more to this than a simple medical complication. She needed answers. Over the next few days, Amica launched her own investigation. She went through Chike's medical records, but they were suspiciously vague. The attending physician's notes were incomplete, and key information about his surgery seemed to be missing. It was as though someone had intentionally covered up the details. Determined to uncover the truth, Amica reached out to a close friend, A.O. Benson, a journalist known for exposing corruption. A.O. had helped her with small matters in the past, but this was different. This wasn't a trivial story, it was about her brother's life. "I know a guy who works in the hospital's records department," A.O. said over the phone one evening. "He can help you get a clearer picture of Chike's case. But you need to be careful, Amica. There's something shady about that place." Amica nodded, her resolve hardening. "I'll take whatever help I can get. I need to know what happened to Chike." With A.O.'s help, Amica met with the hospital's records officer, a man named Yemi. He was a mild-mannered clerk who, after some coaxing, revealed startling information. "Look, I'm not supposed to be saying this," Yemi whispered, glancing nervously around the dimly lit back room of the hospital. "But there's a pattern. Dr. Olamide has been involved in strange surgeries. Patients come in for one thing, and then they're gone. Their families are told they died of complications, but the bodies are never properly examined. Their organs, kidneys, livers, hearts, are sold off to the highest bidder." Amica felt a chill run through her body. "Are you saying he's killing them?" Yemi hesitated, then nodded. "He's been doing it for years. No one's ever been able to prove it because he's too smart. The hospital's higher-ups protect him. They don't ask questions. But you're not the first person to question it. I've seen too many files disappear. Too many deaths go unexplained." Amica's heart raced as she absorbed the enormity of the truth. Dr. Olamide was not just a surgeon, he was a killer, and he was hiding behind a mask of professionalism. She left the hospital that day with a sense of urgency. She had to act fast, but she knew she couldn't do it alone. She turned to I.O. once again, urging him to investigate further. They had to gather concrete evidence before Dr. Olamide could silence them both. Amica and A.O. devised a dangerous plan. They needed someone willing to put their life on the line, a volunteer who could go undercover and expose Dr. Olamide's criminal activities. After some convincing, Jack, a young man in his early 20s, who had been struggling with financial difficulties, agreed to take the risk. He had nothing left to lose, and felt the weight of injustice pressing on him. His family was barely getting by, and he saw this as a way to fight back against the corruption that ran rampant in their society. Amica arranged for Jide to be admitted to the hospital under a false pretext. He would pretend to need a minor surgery, one that was common enough to avoid suspicion. Dr. Olamide would undoubtedly take the bait, thinking he was dealing with another unknowing victim. The plan was risky, but it was the only way to gather the evidence they needed. A.O. and Amica arranged for hidden cameras to be placed in the operating room, cleverly disguised to capture every moment of Dr. Olamide's actions. They would be recording him live as he performed the procedure. The trap was set. The day of the surgery arrived. Jide was wheeled into the operating room with a fake illness, one that would require a simple removal of the gallbladder. Amica watched from a hidden room down the hall, her breath tight in her chest. In the operating room, Dr. Olamide stood poised as ever. He was flanked by his assistant, Nurse Bisi, who seemed unfazed by the impending procedure. Amica's heart pounded in her ears as the camera feed began to stream on her phone. Jide was unconscious, But the surgery wasn't what it seemed. Instead of working on the gallbladder, Dr. Olamide immediately began making in a different area around Jade's kidneys. The room seemed eerily silent, except for the soft hum of machines. Amika couldn't believe her eyes. There it was, what she had feared. Dr. Olamide was harvesting Jade's organ. Jade's heart rate dropped dangerously as the procedure continued, and Amika's blood turned to ice. She watched in horror as Dr. Olamide removed one kidney and handed it off to Nurse Bisi, who placed it into a cooler for transport. Amika's phone shook in her hands. They had the evidence. But something went wrong. The sudden sound of Jade's faint cries echoed through the hidden speakers. He had woken up. His groggy, panicked movements made it clear that he was aware of the horrific reality unfolding. Dr. Olamide's calm demeanor cracked for the first time. His face twisted in irritation as he tried to push Jade back under anesthesia. "Get him back to sleep," he barked at Nurse Bisi. But Jade struggled, screaming. His body convulsed on the operating table, and the chaos that ensued sent the entire operating room into disarray. In that moment of confusion, Nurse Bisi was thrown off balance. The hidden camera continued to capture it all. Jade's bloodied body, the frantic efforts to sedate him, his determination to finish the job. Then the door burst open. Who had been alerted by the noises, rushed in, followed by security personnel. The operation was halted, and Dr. Olamide's carefully constructed world of lies began to unravel. The footage was leaked to the media within hours, sparking an outrage that rippled through Nigeria. Amika and Ayo's investigation was now a full-blown scandal. The hidden camera footage, combined with the testimonies from hospital insiders, confirmed what everyone had feared. Dr. Olamide was not just a skilled surgeon. He was a murderer and an organ trafficker. Police raided the hospital, arresting Dr. Olamide as he attempted to flee the country. His mansion, once a symbol of his success, was ransacked, uncovering more damning evidence. Dr. Olamide's trial was swift. His demeanor, cold and emotionless, remained unchanged. He showed no remorse for his actions, viewing the entire ordeal as a business transaction. He had been untouchable for so long that he truly believed nothing could harm him. But the tide had turned. The families of the victims, once silenced by grief and fear, now stood united. They gave testimony, their voices full of sorrow and anger. Dr. Olamide's crimes could no longer be denied. He was sentenced to life in prison. Months after Dr. Olamide's conviction, Amaka visited the site of the former St. Raphael's Medical Center. It had been shut down, its reputation irreparably damaged. Families had filed lawsuits, demanding compensation for the lives lost. But the scars ran deeper than that. Dr. Olamide's betrayal was a reminder that power, unchecked, could lead to monstrous acts. Amika, now an advocate for medical transparency and patient rights, continued to push for reforms. The fight wasn't over, but as she stood in front of the hospital's closed doors, she felt a sense of justice settle in her chest. The harvest of death had been stopped. Did you enjoy this story? Please drop your comments below. Don't you forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you. Until next time, bye. Welcome back to my channel. This is a Nigerian folktale of mystery, fate, and redemption. The sun hung low over the small town of Omu, its golden rays casting long shadows over the dusty roads. Women wrapped in colorful wrappers balanced baskets of goods on their heads, exchanging laughter and gossip. Children ran barefoot, their laughter ringing through the air, and men gathered under the ancient Iroko tree, discussing matters of the land. Amaka, a woman of remarkable beauty and virtue, moved through the town with grace. She had been married to Chidi for 6 years, and though their union was once filled with love, recent times had brought strain. Chidi, once a doting husband, had grown distant, with life and the whispers of those who envied their once happy marriage. For months, their marital bed had remained cold. That was why the news of Amika's pregnancy came as an earth-shattering shock. She stood in front of the herbalist's hut, clutching the wooden post for support. "What did you say, Mama Agbo?" Her voice was barely above a whisper. Mama Agbo, the town's revered healer, squinted at her, puzzled. "Amika, you are with child. 3 moons along. Are you telling me you did not know?" The words sent a chill through Amaka's spine. It was impossible. But my husband and I have not lain together in months, she stammered, shaking her head as if that would erase the diagnosis. Mama Agbo's wrinkled face darkened. "Then we must seek answers, my child. For this is not ordinary." Amika left the hut with trembling legs. As she walked through the village, she felt the weight of unseen eyes on her. Whispers followed her like an eerie shadow. The walls of her home, once a sanctuary, now seemed to close in on her. That evening, she waited for Chidi to return. When he did, his face was hardened with exhaustion. "Welcome, my husband," she greeted softly. Chidi barely spared her a glance. "What is it, Amika?" "I am tired." She took a deep breath, her hands trembling. "I am pregnant." The air grew thick, suffocating. Chidi's face twisted in disbelief. "Pregnant?" His voice was dangerously low. "And you expect me to believe it is mine?" Amika gasped. "Chidi, I have never known another man." Chidi let out a bitter laugh. "Do I look like a fool, We have not been together in months. Who is he? Tell me now before I drag you before the elders." Tears blurred Amaka's vision. "I swear on my life, I have been faithful." But Chidi's mind was set. The betrayal he felt was too deep, too consuming. He stormed out, leaving Amika in a pool of tears. The next morning, the village square was packed. The elders, wise men of grey beards and stern expressions, sat in a semicircle, their staff of office resting beside them. The townspeople murmured, eager for scandal. Amika stood alone in the centre, her heart pounding. Chidi sat across from her, rage simmering in his eyes. "Amika, daughter of Obiora," Elder Okik began, his voice deep and commanding. "Your husband has brought forth a grievous matter. You carry a child, yet your husband claims he has not lain with you in many moons. How do you explain this?" Amika swallowed, her voice trembling. "I do not know, great elders, but I swear on my ancestors, I have been faithful to my husband." Chidi scoffed. "Lies." The elders exchanged glances. This was no ordinary case. They would need divine intervention. "The gods shall decide," Elder Okik declared. "You will swear before Amadioha, the god of justice. If you lie, he will strike you down." A collective gasp spread through the crowd. No one lied before Amadioha and lived. Amaka's knees weakened, but she stood firm. "I will swear," she said, her voice unwavering. The shrine was prepared. The sacred white chalk was drawn, and the ritual began. Amika stepped forward, her heart in her throat. "I, Amaka, swear before Amadioha that I have known no man except my husband. If I lie, may the gods punish me." The wind howled. The trees swayed. The villagers held their breath. Nothing happened. Elder Okak's eyes widened. "The gods have spoken. She speaks the truth." Murmurs erupted. Chidi staggered back, confusion gripping him. If Amika was not lying, then how? The mystery deepened, and somewhere in the crowd, an old woman with piercing eyes smiled knowingly. What happens next? Who is the mysterious old woman? How did Amaka conceive? As the crowd dispersed, a strange hush fell over Amio. The people, though awed by Amadioha's judgment, remained uneasy. How could a woman conceive without lying with a man? Even the gods had spoken, yet the mystery deepened. That evening, Amaka sat alone in front of her hut, her mind heavy with thoughts. Chidi had refused to speak to her after the judgment, still struggling to accept the impossible truth. Then, a soft knock. Amaka hesitated before opening the door. Standing before her was the old woman from the crowd, the one with the piercing eyes. She was draped in a faded wrapper, her face lined with years of wisdom. "Who are you, Mama?" Amaka asked, wary yet curious. The woman stepped inside, closing the door behind her. "My child," she said, her voice thick with mystery, "I am Nika, the keeper of forgotten truths." Amaka's breath caught in her throat. "You carry a sacred child," Amaka Nika continued, her eyes glimmering with knowledge. "A child not conceived by man, but by the will of the gods." Amaka's heartbeat quickened. "How? Why me?" Nika took a deep breath and gestured for Amaka to sit. "Long ago, before your birth, your mother made a vow to the gods when she struggled to conceive. She promised that if she bore a daughter, that child would serve a greater purpose, chosen by the divine. You, Amaka, were that daughter." Amaka gasped. Her mother had passed when she was a child, leaving behind only fragmented stories. She had never known of this vow. "But I have lived an ordinary life," she protested. "I am just a woman, a wife." "You were chosen the moment you came into this world," Nika interrupted gently. "The child in your womb is not just yours. It belongs to destiny, but with great purpose comes great trials. This is why you must be strong." Amaka felt a shiver crawl up her spine. The words felt both terrifying and strangely familiar, as if her soul had known them before. Nika placed a wrinkled hand over Amaka. "The journey ahead will be difficult. The world fears what it does not understand. Even your husband may not believe you, but in time, the truth will reveal itself." A sudden gust of wind blew through the hut, and when Amaka looked up, Nika was gone vanished into the night like a whisper in the wind. The next morning, Chidi stood by the riverbank. How could his wife be pregnant if he had not touched her? The gods may have spared her, but his heart still burned with doubt. "I will find the truth, no matter what it takes." As the days passed, Chidi's paranoia grew. He could not accept Amaka's innocence. He sought the counsel of the village's most feared Debian, a sorcerer known as Azul. "The gods may have spared her, but that does not mean she is pure," Azulu said, his eyes gleaming with malice. "There are ways to uncover the true father of the child." "What must I do?" Chidi asked, desperation lacing his voice. Azulu smiled darkly. "A ritual, but be warned, if she is guilty, the gods will not be merciful." That night, under the cover of darkness, Chidi brought Amaka to Azulu's shrine. She protested, but Chidi's grip was firm. "You claim innocence," he said. "Then prove it." Azulu drew a circle in the sand, whispering incantations. "If your words are true, you will not burn." Amaka's heart pounded. The villagers, summoned by the spectacle, watched in eerie silence. Tears welled in her eyes as she turned to Chidi. "You do not trust me." Chidi's face was unreadable. "Step into the fire," Taking a deep breath, Amaka stepped forward. The flames licked at her feet then. Miraculously, they turned cold. A cry of astonishment rippled through the crowd. Azulu stumbled back. "This is impossible." The fire had turned to water. A voice echoed through the shrine. It was Nika. "She carries a divine child. You have doubted a woman chosen by the gods." Fear gripped Azulu. He fell to his knees. "Forgive me." Chidi, trembling, dropped to the ground, but Amaka turned away. Her heart, though victorious, was shattered. The gods had spoken again, but was it too late for love to be restored? Chidi sat in his hut, his head buried in his hands. The gods had spoken not once but twice, and yet, in his blind rage, he had humiliated the woman who had done nothing but love him. The shame was unbearable. "I will beg for her forgiveness," Chidi said, "even if I must crawl on my knees for the rest of my life." Amaka sat inside her father's compound. She had refused to return home with Chidi. Her heart was too wounded. She had loved him with every fibre of her being. But love without trust was like a house without a foundation. Her father, Obiora the elder, sat beside her. "My daughter," he said softly, "what will you do?" Amaka sighed. "How can I return to a man who doubted me so deeply? He was ready to let me burn." Obiora nodded. "Men are weak in the face of the unknown." Amaka frowned. "That is no excuse." "No, it is not," her father agreed. "But you must ask yourself, do you still love him?" Tears welled in Amaka's eyes. "I do, but I do not know if I can ever look at him the same way again." At that moment, footsteps approached. Chidi stood at the entrance, looking more broken than she had ever seen him. "I have come to beg for your forgiveness." "I was a fool," Chidi continued. "I should have believed you. Instead, I was the one who hurt you the most." Amaka wiped a tear from her cheek. "You humiliated me, Chidi. You let the village question my honor." "I know," he whispered, "and I will spend the rest of my life making it up to you. You have broken my heart, Chidi, and I do not know if I can ever trust you again." Chidi swallowed hard, nodding. "No matter how long it takes, I will wait." And with that, he turned and walked away. Months passed, and the time for Amaka's delivery arrived. Despite everything, Chidi never stopped proving his remorse. He sent word through her father, helped her father fetch firewood. The unborn child was seen as divine, and many awaited its birth with reverence. On a night when the moon shone brighter than ever, Amaka's labor pains began. The entire village gathered outside the hut, waiting. Prayers were whispered, candles were lit. And then, just before dawn, the cry of a newborn filled the air. But as the midwife lifted the baby, the room fell silent. For on the baby's forehead was a strange mark, a symbol none had ever seen before. Nika appeared, stepping forward. Her eyes gleamed with wisdom as she gazed upon the child. "This is no ordinary child," she said. "He is a gift from the gods, sent to change the fate of this land." Amaka, exhausted yet filled with wonder, looked at her son and whispered, "What is his destiny?" Nika smiled. "That, my child, only time will tell." Chidi watching as Amaka cradled their son. His heart ached with love and regret. "This is your son," she said, "and if you are truly ready, we will raise him together." Tears slipped down Chidi's face. "I will never fail you again, Amaka, never." And as he held his son, he vowed that no force in this world, neither fear nor doubt, would ever break their family again. Faith is not just believing in what is divine, it is also believing in those you love. Doubt can destroy, but trust can heal even the deepest wounds. And most of all, when destiny calls, it cannot be denied.
Did you enjoy this story? Please drop your comments in the comment section. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, bye-bye. Thank you.
Welcome back to my channel. This is a story of a mother's love. Elena clutched the tiny pink bundle in her arms, her heart pounding like a hammer in her chest. The baby's eyes were barely open, yet they searched for something, someone. Her tears blurred, her vision as she pressed a trembling kiss to the baby's forehead. "I love you, my little angel," she whispered. The hospital room felt suffocating. Outside, through the window, the city carried on as if the world hadn't just shifted beneath Elena's feet. A nurse stood by the door, clipboard in hand. "Are you sure about this, Miss Garcia?" Elena inhaled sharply. She was 19, barely out of high school, with no stable job, no family to turn to, and a father who had slammed the door in her face the moment she whispered the word pregnant. Her daughter deserved more than a life of struggle. So she signed the papers. The family she chose, they were perfect. Rachel and Daniel had been trying for a child for years. Their home was warm, their love abundant. They would give Elena's baby everything she couldn't. The day she placed her daughter, now named Sophie, into Rachel's arms, Elena felt her soul crack, but she forced a smile. "This is for the best." She repeated it like a mantra as she walked away, never turning back. Haunted by love, years passed. Elena tried to move on. She threw herself into work, into education, into anything that could distract her from the ache in her chest. But no matter how much she tried, she couldn't shake the need to know. Was Sophie happy? Did she miss the mother she never knew? Then, one day, fate intervened. Elena, now 24, saw a job posting. Live-in nanny needed for a 5-year-old girl. Loving family, good pay, and the picture attached. Her heart stopped. This was her chance. A reckless, insane, desperate chance to be close to the daughter she had given away. She applied immediately. Rachel Jacobson was kind, warm, and unknowingly welcoming the very woman who had given birth to her daughter. Sophie, now a bright-eyed, curly-haired child, took to Elena instantly. She would wrap her tiny fingers around Elena's wrist, climb into her lap, and whisper secrets as if she had known her all her life. Elena loved Sophie with every fiber of her being, but she was playing with fire. One slip-up, one misplaced memory, and the truth could shatter everything. One evening, as Elena tucked Sophie into bed, the little girl traced a tiny finger down Elena's cheek. "You smell like me," she giggled. Elena froze. "What do you mean, sweetheart?" Sophie shrugged. "Mummy says people smell like their mummies sometimes." Rachel stood in the doorway, watching the exchange with curious eyes. Elena's breath caught. She needed to be more careful. But secrets have a way of finding the light. It happened on a quiet Sunday. Rachel had found an old baby blanket, one Elena had left at the adoption agency. A blanket identical to the one Sophie still clutched at night. Rachel had been going through an old keepsake box when she found it. A blanket. The same blanket Sophie had been swaddled in when she was adopted. And another blanket, one Elena had brought with her on her first day as a nanny. The one she had kept from Sophie's birth. Identical. Rachel's blood ran cold, her brows furrowed. She turned, her hands shaking, and found Elena standing in the doorway. Rachel's voice was barely a whisper. "Elena, where did you grow up?" Elena's heart pounded. "Why?" Rachel hesitated, then spoke the words that would unravel everything. "You remind me of someone. Someone I met 6 years ago in an adoption agency." The silence between them stretched, heavy with a truth too big to hide. Then Rachel screamed. "It's you, isn't it? You're Sophie's mother." Elena's body went cold. Rachel's betrayal was instant. How could you? You lied to her. You lied to us, just to get close to Sophie. Elena broke down. I never wanted to hurt anyone. I needed to see her. I couldn't stay away. But the damage was done. Daniel, Rachel's husband, was furious. He wanted Alina gone immediately. Sophie, now scared, ran into the room. What's happening? No one answered. Sophie, too young to understand the gravity of the situation, clung to Elena's leg. Don't go, Nana, please. The little voice cracked something in Rachel's anger. Could she truly erase the woman who had carried her daughter for 9 months? The woman Sophie adored. Rachel's voice cracked. We trusted you. You need to leave for now, but we will talk. Elena's worst fear had come true. She had lost Sophie all over again. Days turned into weeks. Alina respected their wishes and stayed away. But Sophie missed her and cried every night. Where's Nana? She asked one evening. Rachel sighed, staring at her daughter. Could she truly erase Alina from Sophie's life? Rachel wrestled with the truth. Yes, Alina had lied. A mother who had made a mistake, not out of malice, but out of love. And love, real, selfless love, wasn't something to throw away. One evening, Rachel picked up the phone and called Alina. When Alina answered, her voice was hoarse. Would you like to visit Sophie? Tears streamed down Elena's face. More than anything, it wouldn't be easy. Trust would take time to rebuild. But Sophie deserved all the love she could get. Sophie never knew the full story. Not yet. But as she grew, she would come to understand that love isn't perfect. Sometimes love makes mistakes. And sometimes the people who make mistakes are the ones who love us the most. It takes the wrong turns. It hides, it aches, it longs. But real love, in the end, always finds its way home. Moral lesson: truth and forgiveness are powerful. Even the most painful truths can lead to healing if met with understanding. A mother's love is eternal, no matter the distance, the years, or the mistakes. A mother's heart never forgets her child. Thank you for watching.
Did you enjoy this story? Please drop your comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
This is a story of 3 identical sisters. In the heart of a bustling city, nestled between dimly lit streets and neon lights, stood the Blue Moon Bar. It was a place where souls sought solace in music, and none captivated the crowd like the Harmonia sisters. Celeste, Leora, and Vivian. Born triplets, they were a rare sight to behold. Sharing the same enchanting features, raven black hair, piercing green eyes, and a melodic voice that could make even the coldest heart melt. Despite their striking resemblance, the sisters were as different as night and day in their personalities. Celeste, the eldest by mere minutes, was the ambitious one, always striving for more. Leora, the middle sister, was the gentle soul, content with their humble life. And Vivian, the youngest, was the wild spirit, always pushing boundaries, always craving the thrill of the unknown. Every night they sang in harmony, weaving magic with their voices. Yet behind the stage curtains, a storm brewed. The competition among them was fierce, for each sister secretly wished to outshine the others. Their mother, a former singer who had long faded into obscurity, had drilled into them that only the best survived in the world of music. Sing with your soul, but never forget the world only has room for one star. She often warned, her eyes filled with the ghosts of unfulfilled dreams. The pressure to succeed had shaped them in different ways. Celeste pushed herself relentlessly, taking vocal lessons beyond what their modest means allowed. Leora cherished their bond more than the limelight, often playing the mediator between her 2 feuding sisters. Vivian, always impulsive, sought attention not only through her voice, but also through her reckless antics, often causing concern for those who loved her. One fateful evening, a renowned talent scout, Richard Langley, entered the Blue Moon. His presence sent a ripple of excitement through the crowd. When the sisters took the stage, they knew this was their moment to shine. Their voices intertwined in perfect harmony. Yet Celeste subtly raised her volume, attempting to take the lead. Leora, sensing the shift, tried to balance it, while Vivian, unwilling to be overshadowed, matched Celeste's intensity. Their once fluid performance became a battle of vocal prowess. The performance was breathtaking, but Langley had only one offer to make her solo contract. "You're all incredibly talented, but I'm looking for a solo act," he announced after their performance. "The industry doesn't need a trio. It needs a singular sensation. Think it over. I'll be back tomorrow night." And with that, he left, leaving a thick silence between the sisters. That night, Celeste and Vivian lay awake, their minds racing with possibilities. Leora, on the other hand, felt a deep sadness, knowing that this offer could break them apart. As the next day dawned, an unspoken tension loomed over the sisters. Celeste was the first to voice her ambition. "I should take the contract," she said confidently. "I've always led our performances. You both know it." Vivian scoffed. "Excuse me. I'm the one with the most stage presence. If anyone should go solo, it's me." Leora looked between them, hurt flashing in her eyes. "What about staying together? We've always been stronger as a trio. Maybe you've always been comfortable in the background. But some of us want more," Celeste retorted. The argument escalated, emotions running high. That night, as they took the stage once more, the magic of their harmony was gone. Celeste and Vivian tried to overpower each other, throwing the performance into discord. Leora, struggling to keep up, faltered. The audience sensed the tension, their applause hesitant and confused. Backstage, the sisters' heated words turned to physical confrontation. "You ruined everything." Vivian accused Celeste, shoving her. "You're just jealous." Celeste shot back. "Enough." Leora shouted, tears streaming down her face. "We've let our own greed destroy us." But it was too late. The damage had been done. Langley witnessed their collapse and withdrew his offer. "I wanted a star, not a storm of chaos," he said before walking away. Their fallout was swift. Celeste left the group first, trying to make it on her own, only to find the industry harsher than she had imagined. Vivian followed, but without the backing of her sisters. She too struggled. Leora, heartbroken, remained at the Blue Moon bar, singing alone. As time passed, Celeste found herself singing in small venues, her once bright future dimming under the weight of loneliness. Vivian fell into a downward spiral, using alcohol and reckless behavior to cope with her failing career. Leora, despite her heartbreak, dedicated herself to the bar and nurtured young talents who reminded her of the trio they once were. The years dragged on, each sister walking a lonely road. Celeste started working behind the scenes in music production, hiding her bruised ego behind a mixing board. Vivian drifted from bar to bar, singing on good nights and drowning herself in regret on bad ones. Leora, however, refused to let the past define her, though she carried a longing ache every time she looked at the empty microphone stand where her sisters once stood beside her. Fate had other plans. The Blue Moon bar was set to close. Unable to sustain itself amid the changing tides of the entertainment industry, the bar owner, an old friend of their late mother, reached out to Leora, suggesting one final grand show to honor the venue's history. Leora agreed, and in a moment of boldness, she sent invitations to Celeste and Vivian. Neither responded. The night of the show arrived, and as Leora took the stage, she felt the weight of their absence pressing against her heart. But as she opened her mouth to sing, a familiar harmony joined her. Celeste stepped onto the stage, eyes glistening with unshed tears. Moments later, Vivian followed, hesitant but willing. The three sisters faced each other, and for the first time in years, they understood they had never truly been completely apart. Their voices soared through the air, weaving a melody of pain, loss, and ultimately forgiveness. The audience held their breath, witnessing something greater than just a performance. It was a reunion of souls long lost. The final note faded, replaced by thunderous applause. The sisters embraced, knowing this was their second chance, not at fame, but at each other. Moral of the story: true harmony is not just in melody, but in the love that binds us. Success means little when the cost is losing those who once stood beside us. Family, despite its trials and fractures, remains the most profound symphony we will ever compose.
Did you enjoy this story? Please drop your comments in the comment section. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.
This is a tale of resilience, secrets, and destiny. As the rain pounded against the roof of the orphanage, little Naya curled up in her small cot, staring at the ceiling. She had been there for as long as she could remember. No parents, no family, just the cold walls of Hollowbrook Orphanage. Her earliest memory was of a woman's voice, soft, loving, singing her to sleep. But she had no face to match the voice, no picture. Nothing but a deep ache inside her chest whenever she thought about it. Do you think our real parents miss us? A younger girl, Mara, whispered from the next bed. Nia didn't answer right away. She had stopped believing in fairy tales long ago. The world was cruel, and she had learned to survive on her own. I don't know, Nia finally whispered. But deep down, she wished someone out there was looking for her. The years passed. No one came. At 22, Nia aged out of the orphanage system. With no family and no home, she found herself on the cold streets of New York City, a world vastly different from the closed-off walls of Hollowbrook. She had nothing but a tattered suitcase, a resume, and a heart full of determination. But determination wasn't enough to land a job. Sorry, we're not hiring. We need someone with experience. You're not the right fit. Rejection after rejection chipped away at her spirit. She slept in shelters, worked temporary jobs, and rationed every meal. One night after another failed interview, she sat on a park bench, exhaustion weighing on her. She watched people pass, businesswomen in tailored suits, men carrying designer briefcases. A life so close, yet completely out of reach. She clenched her fists. One day, I will make it. Nia's chance came unexpectedly. She was working as a barista when a woman named Lana Sterling, an executive from Ellery Designs, stopped in for coffee. You have a good work ethic, Lana commented as Nia handled a rush of customers with speed and grace. I just do what I have to do, Nia replied, trying to keep her tone professional. Lana studied her. Have you ever worked in fashion? Nia shook her head. No, but I learned quickly. Lana smirked. Come by Alara Designs tomorrow morning. We might have an opening for an assistant. Nia's heart pounded. Alara Designs was one of the most prestigious fashion companies in the country. Was this finally her break? She didn't sleep that night. The next morning, dressed in the best outfit she could piece together, Nia stepped into the sleek, glass-walled headquarters of Alara Designs. Lana introduced her to her new job as a junior assistant. The work was demanding, endless tasks, late hours, but Nia thrived. Yet, there was one person in the company who remained an enigma, Eleanor LaRue, the elusive CEO. Eleanor rarely appeared in public. She ruled from the shadows. Known for her ruthlessness in business and her unmatched talent in design, rumors swirled about her past. Some said she built the company from the ground up after a great personal tragedy. Others claimed she had once lost something so precious that she never let herself feel again. Naya didn't concern herself with office gossip. She had a job to do, but fate had other plans. Over the months, Nia proved her worth. She was quick, resourceful, and unafraid to challenge ideas. Her designs, though unofficial, caught the attention of Lana and other executives. "Who made this?" one of the senior designers asked, holding up a sketch Naya had left on the desk. Naya hesitated. "I did." From that moment, doors began to open. She was invited to meetings, given small projects, and mentored by the top designers. Eleanor still remained distant, but Naya noticed something odd. Whenever she entered the same room as Eleanor, the CEO's gaze would linger on her for just a second too long, as if searching for something. One day, while organizing old company files, Nia stumbled upon something peculiar, a sketchbook with initials AL. Flipping through the pages, her breath caught. The designs, they looked familiar, not because she had seen them before, but because they reminded her of something deeply personal. She traced her fingers over a design of a blue dress with embroidered roses. It was exactly like the dress from her earliest memory, the one the woman in her dreams used to sing to her. Heart pounding, she turned to the first page, where a handwritten note read, "To my darling Naya, may you always chase your dreams." Her stomach dropped. How did this end up in Elara Designs? Determined to uncover the truth, Nia did something reckless. She entered Eleanor's private office late at night. Digging through the locked drawers, she found a sealed envelope with a birth certificate in. Her hands trembled as she read the name. Nia Amara LaRue. She stumbled back. LaRue. Eleanor's last name. A storm of emotions raged inside her. Could it be? Could Eleanor be? Before she could process it, the door swung open. Eleanor stood there, her eyes filled with something unreadable. "You have questions," she said, her voice unreadable. Nia's voice cracked. "Tell me the truth. Are you my mother?" Silence. Then Eleanor whispered, "I never wanted to lose you." Eleanor finally confessed. 22 years ago, she had been forced to give up Nia after a devastating betrayal by her business partner, Victor Hale. He had orchestrated a scandal, framing Eleanor's husband and forcing her to choose her child or her company. Terrified for Nia's safety, Eleanor placed her in a secret orphanage, planning to reclaim her when the danger passed. But Victor had ensured that Eleanor would never find her daughter again. Tears streamed down Nia's face. "All this time, you were looking for me." "Every day," Eleanor whispered. Victor Hale was still part of the company, now sitting comfortably as one of its major stakeholders. Realizing what he had done, Naya and Eleanor decided to bring him down. Gathering secret records and evidence of fraud, they built a case against him. The confrontation came during a high-stakes board meeting, when Eleanor exposed Victor's crimes: embezzlement, fraud, and manipulation. The board turned against him. Security escorted him out as he raged. "You'll regret this, Eleanor." But she only smiled. "I already have everything I need." She turned to Naya. "And now I have my daughter." With Victor gone, Eleanor publicly acknowledged Nia as her rightful heir. Nia, once an orphan struggling to survive, was now the future of Elara Designs. But more importantly, she had found her mother, and together they were unstoppable. Standing on the balcony of the headquarters, Nia gazed at the city skyline. She had fought through pain, rejection, and uncertainty. But in the end, Fate had led her home, and now she was ready to change the world. Moral lesson: no matter how lost you feel, destiny has a way of bringing you to where you truly belong.
Did you enjoy the story? Drop your comments in the comment section. Please don't